Hey guys, welcome in. Today, we're going to be looking at Frédéric Chopin's most famous Nocturne, the second one, Opus 9 number 2 in E-flat major. And even though I know I've talked about this Nocturne before in like compilations of my favorite Nocturnes for beginners and stuff like that, I've never made a whole video just exclusively focused on checking out this piece. So that is what we're going to be doing today. Let's listen for a second first, then we'll chat. This first statement of the melody is shockingly only 4 measures long. We kind of get 2 attempts at this. We do it again. It gets higher. And then we kind of start our second half, which kind of continues all the way through the next 2 measures. It doesn't repeat itself really hardly at all. It's not the kind of melody where you go, you know, it's not repetitious really. It just keeps doing every measure is different than the last measure. So how does Chopin kind of push the drama forward? Well, for one, it is the melody, right? But also the harmony underneath it is really interesting. So the first measure is the simplest measure. We get E flat chord, then we get a D fully diminished 7th chord with E flat in the bass still. That one's to go. This is our 7 diminished chord. This is a little atypical. Way more common would be to start with a 5 chord here. It's going to sound weird to your ears now, but a much more common progression would be to go, and then that would be very typical. But Chopin kind of gives a little wrinkle with this, which sounds very distant, but he kind of lessens the blow with the E flat on the bottom. Then there's a little walk down. The next measure now starts this spiraling out of chords. Even though the melody is kind of free flowing over top, the chords really just push one to the next. We have a C7, going to another C7. Now C7 is one of these secondary chords I was talking about. C7 is a 5 chord. It acts like a 5 chord, but it's a 5 of F. C7 is a 5 of F. Well, F isn't our home key, so it's like our 5 chord of our F chord, which F was 2. So this whole measure is kind of about getting to F, like C, 7, and then we kind of get to F, but not quite until there. Okay, we made it to F. The next measure, it doesn't let up. We go, okay, B7, we need to go to E flat. Tricked you, G7, which needs to go to C minor. It does go to C minor, and then another fully diminished 7th chord, which wants to go to B flat. It's funny, measure 3 actually start and ends in the same place. It starts on a B flat 7 chord, which should go to E flat, but Chopin uses this to chromatically walk up like a deceptive cadence, 5 going to 6, B flat, went to C minor. Instead of going directly to C minor, he first threw in the 5 of C minor, and then we got C minor, and then we're like, A fully diminished 7, which is the fully diminished 7th chord of B flat, and we go to B flat, which is funny to me because that's how measure 3 started. Measure 3 and 4 started in the same place. So harmonically, you were on B flat 7 chord. You kind of did all these extra chords to do a secondary dominant of 6 and go to 6 and then fully diminished 7th chord, just to get you back to B flat. I recently analyzed a John Field Nocturne, and I mentioned in that video, I think it's a really cool piece, especially considering they're older than the Chopin Nocturnes. But one area that's lacking in the John Field Nocturnes is the creativity and brilliance of the harmony. And here's Chopin at the very beginning, just like he could have done 1, 5, 1, and then done something like, and kept it really straightforward. Instead, he does 1, fully diminished 7, back to 1, walk down the bass, C7, C7, resolve it the way it should in the left hand, but the right hand's still wrong, and then resolve the right hand, and then B flat, which is our 5 chord. Now he could have just done, right, 4 B flat chords for measure 3. Instead, B flat, walk it up to 6, B flat suspended, B flat, back to 1. For being known as, like, I even said simple, right? For being known as just this simply beautiful piece where when you listen to it, you're just like, oh, that melody's gorgeous. There's a lot going on in the left-hand harmony. It's not overly difficult to play, but there's just a lot of interest in that harmony. Okay, then what does Chopin do? Well, he immediately gives us a little melodic variation. And I call it a melodic variation because for the most part, the left hand stays intact. The left hand is the same. The right hand is really similar. Instead of, we get, right? It's doing the same things. We just have varied the melody. So far we've had the melody for 4 measures, and then we do the melody again, varied for 4 more measures. I told you I wanted to kind of get into the form of this piece because I find it really interesting, but not for the reason you might think I find it interesting. So far, all we have is 4 measures, and then repeat the melody for 4 measures. Then right here, after we have restated the melody in a different way, but we've restated kind of our main tune, we're going to go on to what probably should sound like to your ear, because it's so early in the piece, as the second half of the A section. We're going to do this. A few things that make it feel like a part of the A section, but just a second half to it, is the fact that the A section just was 4 measures, 4 measures. It wasn't like we did something, most of the nocturnes do something rather significant for a while and then move on. This is pretty early on in the piece, but also the texture didn't really change. We kind of kept doing the exact same left-hand chords, and the melody rolled right into, we didn't really have a clean break. So to our ears, we should be thinking this is like the second part of the A section. And then we go back into our main tune. Again, a variation of the main tune, but most of the harmony stays the same. And in a way, again, this is really what we expect from the form. We kind of do A, lots of the nocturnes, then restate it. We do like a secondary section within the first section, and then we're right back to the first section again. So far, form-wise, this checks out. Some of the chords in this middle section are kind of cool. Obviously, one of the really nice ones is right here. We get the, almost sounds like Broadway, you know, if you were like, you know, you do a 4 chord, 4 chord to minor 4 chord. Great moment there. Now, before the piece goes back to the beginning, we start diving into more form rather than chords. Just want to mention really quick that I actually have 2 chord courses that are available to purchase. If you are interested by chords, or I'm kind of talking, you love these recaps, but sometimes when I go through chords, I start speeding up and going too quickly, and you would love to just get a better foundation on chords, I have one course, which just is the basic how chords are formed. If you don't know much about chords, definitely start there. My other course deals with 7 chords. If you would like to learn more, and if this moves a little fast sometimes in the video, those are more stretched out, drawn out courses with exercises sometimes and just a lot of examples to get you really, really comfortable with chords, how they're spelled, and most importantly, how they're used by composers in music. So, all right, back to analyzing Chopin. Okay, so obviously the end of the A section, the melody, again, is slightly different, but we went back into the B section again, or the second half of the A section. So that's honestly what I thought when I first looked at this piece years ago. It's probably going to go something like A, B, A, B, A, but that really was all part of just the A section. And then we're going to go to a completely different B section. I can show you an example. One of the most famous nocturnes, F minor. That's our main tune, right? We finish that out, and then we immediately do the A section again, just like in this nocturne. We do all of that. And then at the end of the second A section, we go. A different section, but again, it sort of feels similar, just like the one we're listening to right now. The second section feels like a similar nature. We eventually wrap back around, we do the A section again. Well, guess what? We go back to. And then we go back to. So all in all, we do the A, B, A, B, A, but then you find out all of that was within the big A section. We go on to the B section, which is like, I can flip to it and actually play somewhat right notes. Hey, I actually wasn't that far away. And that's our real B section. You can hear how that sounds completely different, like a brand new texture, sound, and everything. Then that goes on for a while, and eventually we go back to. So again, that's just an example of another extremely famous nocturne where you do A, B, A, B, A, but then you find out, oh, that actually was all just part of your A section. And then you move to a substantial B section that goes on for quite a while before returning to A at the end of the piece. Again, lots of the nocturnes end up being a big A, big B, big A. However, in this nocturne, we're going to have our middle section again. I made a polyrhythm video where I talked about that 4-3 right there being the thing that always embarrasses people in this piece, because it's an easier nocturne. A lot of people can play this one before they're ready to do 4-3. So if you want to hear me rant about that, find the I'll try to put it in the description below if I remember the polyrhythm video, and you can learn how to play that rhythm a lot better. Now, I just told you to expect this. This is our main melody coming back for really the third time. So let's hear what happens at the end of this A section. Now, I have a little secret for you, a little like behind the scenes ear training exercise, but let's save that. Let's listen to a second of this first. I like this recording. Most people at this moment go really fast and loud, even though Chopin does everything in his power to be like, play quiet, use a little rubato, but stay quiet throughout. Also play this extremely sweetly as you can, and then save the powerful one for here in a second. But I feel like a lot of people don't actually hold to that, and they just go crazy at this moment. But this is actually really, really well paced in my opinion. And before we hear this part right here, you can see the end. It's almost here. So what just happened? Like, what was this? Well, here's my little ear training exercise for you. This has been going on since Bach and probably even before Bach. The 4 chord is often our signal or our gateway when you begin a progression on a 4 chord. Not all the time, obviously tons of examples, but sometimes in your ear you hear, oh, that was a really strong 4 chord. I bet the piece is almost over. And then even more so when it's minor 4. So when this starts on, you're like, wow, that really feels like an ending. And guess what? It isn't ending. We're going to do this for 4 measures. As I mentioned, it stays quiet. Then we're going to do it again for 4 measures, and it gets loud with force, speed up, all that good stuff. This huge chord. Do this fun little right hand thing on top to show off to your friends a little bit, and then end the piece. And this is what's a little shocking about the form. It's even simpler than we think. Like, again, I told you we kind of expect maybe like an A, B, A, but it actually was an A section, or maybe even an A, B, A, B, A like this one. It actually was all A, but we're going to have a big B section, then go back to an A section, or maybe even a B, then an A, then like a new section. This is coda. The whole last page here is just 4 measures of coda. Repeat those 4 measures of coda, little flourish, E flat major chord. It's a shockingly simple form. He just has 2 melodies. He does a melody. He does a secondary melody. He does the first melody varied. He does a second melody. He does a first melody varied. And then he does 4 measures of coda, 4 measures of coda, flourish, and the piece. Let's listen to the flourish, though, because it is very pretty. I think it's so famous partially because of its simplicity. It's such an easy listen. It never gets too complicated. A little bit of that stretto in the coda gets dramatic, and I think this performer handled it really well, getting dramatic and a little epic there. But like, it's such a simple listen. You can just be in one state of mind and just relax and listen to it. It's not the same as a piece that maybe develops and becomes like dramatic, goes through all these different tempo changes and sections. It's just such a nice, easy, simple listen. So thanks for checking out the video. Share with a friend if you have a chance. That'd be really, really awesome. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video.